and academic counselor here at IGNOU. And I've been teaching you this paper, the code of which is BPAE 141. And the name of this paper is Right to Information. So I welcome you all to today's learning session. So let us begin. So in the last class, we had discussed about the first block of this paper, the name of which is Right to Information and the code of which is BPAE 141. And as part of the first block, which was relating to the introduction of this right to information, as part of that, we had discussed the evolution of right to information in India and across the world. We had discussed the concept of right to information. And we had also discussed the various achievements that this entire movement for right to information has made in India and across the world. And also, we had discussed some of the limitations on right to information in our country. So, we had finished the first block of this paper. And now, moving on, in today's class, we'll be doing the second block of this paper. The second block is titled The Right to Information Act 2005. And in today's class, we'll be doing Unit 2 and Unit 3 of this second block. Unit 2 is pertaining to the Right to Information Act 2005, an overview. So Unit 2 is relating to an overview of the Right to Information Act 2005, and the Unit 3 of this second block is relating to the Right to Information rules. So let's begin with Unit 2 today. So the Unit 2, as I have discussed, is pertaining to the Right to Information Act 2005. The block 2 is pertaining to that, and the second unit of this paper and of this block is pertaining to an overview of the Right to Information Act 2005, which we had also discussed in the previous class as well. So the Parliament of India, it enacted the Right to Information Act, or RTI Act 2005, in order to give effect to the people's right to know, that we had discussed in the previous class as well. And this enactment of the Parliament, it was preceded by the Freedom of Information Act, which was brought in 2002. However, this Freedom of Information Act, which was the predecessor of the Right to Information Act of 2005, it could never come into effect. For various reasons, it could never come into effect. And the Right to Information Act, it has definitely been a very powerful, empowering legislations for the citizens of India, that we had discussed in the previous class as well, that it is a very powerful and empowering legislation for the citizens of India. And the success of this RTI Act, it can be gauged from the fact that every year about 6 to 8 million applications are filed seeking one or other kind of information. So 6 to 8 million applications are filed every year seeking one or other kind of information. So this shows how successful this act has been, and it has been a very powerful legislation that has empowered the citizens of India. It has deepened the roots of democracy in India, and that is why it has been termed as a very powerful and empowering legislation. We had discussed it in the last class as well, and it has also enabled greater direct participation of the citizens in the democratic process of our country. So it has in many ways promoted participatory democracy also in our country. And so the Supreme Court in many of its judgments, such as the state of UP versus Rajnarayan in 1975, the SP Gupta versus President of India in 1982. In various of his judgments, the Supreme Court of India, it has regarded the right to information as an intrinsic part of the fundamental rights under Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause A of the Constitution of India, which we had already discussed in the previous class as well. And this article, the Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause A, it embraces the true democratic ideal of freedom of expression. So, right to information is an intrinsic part of this fundamental right of freedom of expression. And the Supreme Court of India, which is the custodian of the Constitution of India and the highest court of appeal in our nation, it has reaffirmed in many of its judgments the fact that the right to information is an intrinsic part of the freedom of expression, which is a fundamental right in itself. So, internationally as well, it has been accepted that freedom of expression, it includes the right to be informed as well. That we had discussed in the previous class as well, how the United Nations General Assembly in its very first sitting had emphasized on the importance of the right to information, and how the Supreme Court of the United States of America had also, by referring to the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, that the Supreme Court of United States of America had also emphasized upon the importance of the right to information. So, internationally also, it has been accepted that the freedom of expression, it includes the right to be informed. And without the right to information, the freedom of expression, it cannot be fully realized. So, as we all know, that an uninformed citizenry, it cannot express or participate meaningfully in the democratic governance of a nation. So, if the citizens are not informed about the different policies of the government, about the areas in which the government is spending its expenditure, so is spending the taxpayers' money basically. If the citizens are not informed about that, so they cannot participate in a meaningful way in the democratic governance of the nation. In order to participate meaningfully, they need to know what their government is doing, what are the policies that their government is following or has launched, and what is the expenditure in those policies. So the citizens, they not only have an intrinsic right to know that, but also if they know this, then they can participate more meaningfully in the democratic governance of the nation. Otherwise, democracy will only remain a very formal term. It will never get to the grassroots of the nation. So the right to information, as we have already discussed, that it is an intrinsic part of the fundamental right to freedom of expression, which is mentioned in the Article 19 of the Clause 1, Subclause A of the Constitution of India. And it is not a new right that has been conferred on the citizens. It was already there in the Constitution. So the essence of democracy is that each individual citizen is a sovereign in her own right. So each individual citizen is like a sovereign and has his or her own rights, which cannot be violated. If those rights are violated arbitrarily, then we can say that that country or that nation is not a democracy in its true essence. So, this RTI Act that we are discussing, uh, it needs to be understood as a tool of dialogue by each sovereign individual with the state. And it is the people of the country who play a key role in the democratic processes of the government at every level, from the center to the panchayats. Right. So, for the people who play a very important role in the democratic processes of the government at the different levels, at the different tiers of government, for those people, for the citizens, information means power. And this information is to be shared with fellow citizens. So, participatory governance is a very important thing that the Constitution of India has emphasized upon. And if the people of India were not given this right to information, their role in the political process of the country would have been negligible. So, moving on, let us now discuss a little bit about the framework of this RTI Act of 2005 that we are studying. So, this RTI Act of 2005, which came into enforcement from 12th October 2005 onwards, it contains a preamble, it contains 6 chapters, 31 sections, and 2 schedules. So, it's quite elaborate. Now, let us discuss the extent and commencement of this act. So the section 1 of this act, it contains a short title and the extent and commencement that we are discussing right now. And this section 1 of this RTI Act, it clearly states that this act may be called the Right to Information Act 2005. And this act, it came into operation with effect from 12th October 2005. After it was passed by the Parliament of India on the 12th of May 2005. And this act, it received the assent of the Honorable President of India on the 15th of June 2005. And after that, this act, it extended to the whole of India. Now, section 2 of this act, it includes the definition clause of this act. And this section, the second section of this act, it defines the meaning of the important terms that have been used in the body of the text of this act. We will be discussing some of these terms. Now, the section 2, subsection F of this act. So, section 2F of this act, which includes the meaning of information. So, we are discussing right to information. The section 2, clause F of this act, it includes the meaning of the term information. So, information, it means any material in any form which exists with a public authority. And the information has to exist in the material form, such as records, documents, memos, emails, opinions, advices, press releases, circulars, orders, logbooks, contracts, reports, papers, samples, models, data materials, which are held in any electronic form. So, it has to exist in some material form, this information. And this information, it also covers legal and other opinions received by the public authorities as well. So the list given in this section 2F is only illustrative. Now, the RTI Act, it suggests an important principle regarding private bodies. So, information relating to any private body which may not be covered by the definition of public authority, which is given in section 2H, it can be obtained through a public authority if the law allows the public authority to access it. So this is what this RTI Act explicitly states. Moving on, so if you give an example, say information about a private bank, it can be obtained from the regulator of all banks, that is RBI, if the law requires the information to be filed. So if the law of the RBI requires the information of the of that private bank to be filed, then only that information can be obtained. The next example can be, say, information about a private unaided school, a school which is not aided by the government, from the education department. It can be provided, it can be obtained only if the law requires that information to be filed by the education department. Information about a public limited company from the registrar of companies or from the Securities and Exchanges Board of India, SEBI. It can be obtained only if the law empowers these bodies to ask that public limited company about it. Also, say information about a cooperative society. It can be obtained from the registrar of cooperative societies only if the law requires the registrar of cooperative societies to file that information. Let's say information about trusts. It can be obtained from the Charities Commissioner. The information about various banks, including private banks, can be obtained from RBI. We've already discussed that. Now, since the inception of this act, the Right to Information Act, there has been a controversy whether file noting should be covered within the purview of this act or not. And even an amendment was proposed to take out file noting from the purview of the RTI Act soon after this act became operative. But succumbing to civil society pressure, a cabinet note was released on the 23rd of June 2009. And this cabinet note, it stated that file noting can be disclosed except file noting containing information exempt from disclosure under Section 8 of the RTI Act. So in Dr. R.K. Garg versus Ministry of Home Affairs, it was held that noting of a confidential file should be disclosed only after giving opportunity to the third party, such as the officers writing those notes, to be heard. Because the public authority, it holds the information on behalf of the citizens. So that is what the court held in Supreme Court's, the judiciary's judgment in R.K. Garg versus Ministry of Home Affairs, where the judiciary stated that noting of a confidential file should be disclosed only after giving opportunity to the third party, such as the officer whose writing notes are to be disclosed. So that officer, who is the third party, has to be given an opportunity to be heard. So that is what the judiciary held. Because the public authority, it holds the information on behalf of the citizens. Hence, if the noting of a official is to be made public, is to be disclosed, then first that officer has to be given an opportunity to be heard. And all the information with the possession of public authority is certainly information as per the RTI Act, which is available to any citizen under the Act, subject to the exceptions under Section 8 and 9. Now, the Section 2I of this Act has also discussed the meaning of the word record, which means any record in any form available with the public authority, including document, manuscripts, microfilms, or any copy of a document, or any reproduction of an image, or any other material that is produced by a computer or any other device. Moving on, the Section 2J of this Act, it has discussed the meaning of the right to information. So, the right to information, it means the applicant's right to inspection of work, documents, and records. It also includes taking notes, extracts or certified copies of the documents or records. And it also includes taking certified samples of material and obtaining information in the form of discs, floppies, tapes, or video cassettes, or in any other electronic mode through printouts as well, if that information say is stored in a computer. So this information, it shall be provided subject to the provision of section 7 clause 9. This is what section 2J of this act says. This act has also described public authority as well, section 2H of this act. And public authority, it means any authority or body or institution of self-government which is established or constituted by the Constitution of India or by any other law made by the parliament or any state legislature, or by any notification issued or order made by the appropriate government. And it also includes any body owned, controlled, or substantially financed by the government, or any NGO as well, which is substantially financed directly or indirectly by funds which are provided by the appropriate government. So this term public authority, it has been defined very widely to include all governing structures, legislatures, and judiciary. So it includes any authority or body which is considered as government, which means all ministries and their attached departments, municipal bodies as well as panchayats, so urban local bodies and rural local bodies as well. It also includes the courts, the Supreme Court and the High Courts and the district courts. It also includes the UPSC, the public sector undertakings like nationalized banks, LIC, UTI, etc., and also the deemed universities which have been created by specific notifications are also public authorities as per subclause H, clause D. So this is the definition. And further, subclause D, clause 1 and clause 2 of subclause D, they include aided schools and colleges are also public authorities under subclause D, clause 1 and 2. And if there are government nominees on the boards of companies or trusts or NGOs, this also can be considered as public authority. So it is worth noting here that the establishment of the parliament or the state legislatures or the judiciary or the Honorable President of India and the governors of the states, they have also been brought under the surveillance of the citizen. So they are now also directly answerable and accountable to the citizens. So this is why this act has been termed as a very powerful and empowering legislation that has further increased the participation of the common citizens in the governance process. So this has ushered in a new era of participatory democracy in our country. We can say that. It would not be an understatement. So Section 2, Clause E, it also describes the competent authority with respect to the RTI Act. So it is the duty of the competent authority to ensure that the supply of information comes within the scope of their authority. And the Chief Justice of India is the competent authority with respect to the Supreme Court of India, and the Chief Justices of the High Courts, they are the competent authorities when it comes to the High Courts of the states. Similarly, in case of the legislative assemblies of the state and also the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, the presiding officers of these houses, they are the competent authorities. And for other public authorities, either at the center or at the state level, the President of India and the respective governors of the states and union territories, they have been considered as the competent authorities within their respective spheres of governing authority. So now let us discuss a bit about the eligibility for this for the right to information. So Section 3 of this Act, it makes clear eligibility for asserting the right to information. So Section 3 of this Act has explicitly declared that subject to the provisions of this Act, all citizens shall have the right to information. And this is the smallest section, Section 3, but it has great implications. So it is the unfettered right of a citizen to get information from any public authority. The restrictions can only be placed on the conditions that are given in Section 8 and 9. So now let us discuss the obligations of public authority that are given in this RTI Act. So Section 4 of this Act, it puts an obligation on all public authorities to provide information to a citizen who seeks that information, unless the information it comes under the exempted category. So some informations have been exempted also, which we have discussed in the last class. So under this RTI Act 2005, the public authorities, they are required to make disclosures on various aspects of their structure as well as functioning also. Now, what are those aspects? Let us discuss a few of them. They include the disclosure on their organizations, their functions and their structures, also their powers and duties that their officers enjoy, and also the powers and duties of the employees as well. And these public authorities, they also have to make disclosures on their financial information as well. So the intent of such suo motu disclosures is that the public should need minimum recourse through the Act to obtain such information. Hence, all such information has to be disclosed by public authorities, so that people do not have to file an RTI for every small thing. If such information is not made available, then citizens have the right to request such information from the authorities. So this may include information in the form of documents, files, or electronic records which are under the control of the public authority. The intent behind the enactment of this Act is to, again, promote transparency and accountability in the working of all public authorities. Now let us discuss some of the authorities under this Act, under this RTI Act. So the most important authorities under this Act are the public information officers. So Section 5 of the RTI Act, it requires all public authorities to designate as many public information officers or PIOs as may be necessary to provide information. And these PIOs, they are to be assisted by assistant PIOs or assistant public information officers. So the public authority is also required to ensure that these assistant public information officers, they are designated at different subdivisional or sub-district levels for the purpose of receiving applications of RTI, and also for forwarding these applications to the public information officers for necessary action. So this has been clearly prescribed as under this Act. This Act has also explicitly prescribed the constitution of central as well as one state information commission. So Section 12 and 15 of this RTI Act, it makes provision for central and state information commissions. And each commission shall consist of one chief information commissioner and some other information commissioners, which should not exist 10, should not be more than 10. So these information commissioners, they are appointed by the president or the governor of the state on the recommendations of the 3-member committee. At the central level, this committee consists of the Honorable Prime Minister of India. At the state level, it consists of the Chief Minister and also a cabinet minister nominated by the Prime Minister in the case of the center and Chief Minister in the case of the state. And also the leader of opposition at the center as well as in the states, they are also to be included in this 3-member committee which would appoint these information commissioners. So in the absence of a designated leader of opposition, the leader of the largest opposition group in the house shall be the third member of the committee according to this act. And the chief information commissioner or the other information commissioners, they can be removed only on the ground of proved misbehavior or incapacity, so which has been inquired into by the Supreme Court after that matter has been referred to the Supreme Court by the president or the governor. So the entire information regime that this act has created, it is to work under the control or supervision only. The control and supervision of these information commissioners. So regarding the submission of application, any person who desires to obtain any information under this act can make a request for that information under section 6 of this act without giving a reason for such a request or any personal details except those details that are necessary to contact him. So this signifies that the act does not prescribe any specific format of application. So there is no specific format of application that has been prescribed by this act for making a request under this RTI Act. And an application for RTI, it can be submitted either in writing or electronically as well, in English, Hindi, or in the official language of that state in which the applicant resides. And this application, it should accompany the requisite fee to the central or the state public information or assistant public information officer who has been designated by the respective public authorities. And these officers, they are then required to provide information to this RTI applicant within 30 days or within 35 days. Or if this application is sent to the APIO. And section 7 clause 1 has also provided that information is to be given within 48 hours if right to life or liberty is involved. And if no action is taken on this application within stipulated time, then the information is deemed as refused. And there are certain non-disclosure clauses as well, which we have discussed. Which are mentioned in section 8 clause 1 of this act. Information relating to the security, strategic, scientific or economic interest of the state, they can be held back. They cannot be disclosed as well. Or information which has been expressly forbidden to be published by any court, that also can be held back by the government. Or trade secrets or intellectual property rights, they also come under this non-disclosure clause. So unless the competent authority thinks that larger public interest is satisfied by disclosure, they can hold back this kind of information. So we will be continuing with the third unit of this paper in the next class. And in today's class, we have discussed the second unit of this paper, that is right to information. And as part of that, we have discussed an overview of the right to information. We have discussed the different sections of this act, the competent authorities, the different meanings of the terms, and also the non-disclosure clauses we have also discussed, those relating to strategic or security interest, or trade secrets, those relating to law enforcement or security purposes, or such information which the judiciary has forbidden to be published, those can fall under the non-disclosure clause. So in the next class, we shall be discussing about the third unit of this paper, which is pertaining to the rules of right to information. Thank you. Namaste.